This lesson will be about data validation, and the first section is basic settings. Here we will introduce how to set data validation to only submit data that meet certain conditions. First, let's design a simple data entry report by entering the title row. There is region, salesperson, product type, product, and sales volume. For the first four columns, we are using text widget. And for the sales volume, we are using digital widget. Below the content, let's combine the cell and enter a subtotal which equals to the sum of sales volume. We use the formula sum E2. To look good, we can change the style by selecting all and add inner and outer border to the report. Make sure all the cells are center-aligned. Let's set the column width to 25 and give the title row a background color. We set it to blue. Then we can open up Sheet 2 and add the information about fixed cost, which is 500. Also, we add inner and outer border and center aligned. Let's go back to Sheet 1 and edit the data entry attribute under Template. We add the built-in SQL and select Smart Submit. Choose the database FR demo, and our table is sales volume. Then we click Smart Add Fields to add all the columns. We don't need to add the primary key for now. Next, we click Smart Add Cells to match the corresponding cells. Make sure everything is correct and then click OK. After that, we have finished designing a simple data entry report. Then we will introduce different types of validation. The second section is immediate validation, which means when we are editing, we can verify immediately before submit. In order to use immediate validation, we can set up the data entry widget and select the validation attributes. For example, we don't want the product type to be empty. We can select the cell, and under the widget setting, we can uncheck the box of Allow Null. We can enter the error tips cannot be empty. For the sales volume, it is also not allowed to be empty, so we repeated the steps. Also, we set the decimal digits to be 2. Then we are all set. Let's save the file and rename it to validation. Click on the data entry preview. We can see when we are editing other cells, there will be no warnings if we leave it blank. But when we are editing product, there will be a warning says cannot be empty. Let's try entering Apple. After we delete it, there will be a warning, and we enter Apple again. Then we try entering 25.003 for sales volume. It exceeds the max decimal digits. It will also have a warning says that there are too many decimal digits. We can change it to 25 and it shows success. That's all the information about immediate validation. Section 3 is about the built-in validation, which introduces 3 types of validation when click Submit. There are typical validation, restrict field value, and cross-sheet validation. If we want a system to verify the information we entered after we click on Data Validation or Submit, we can set up the conditions of data validation under Data Entry Attributes. The first situation is typical restrictions for sales. For example, we want to restrict the sales volume between 50 and 10,000. We can add a built-in verify. We add a row and enter a validation formula. We can enter that E2 is greater than 50 and E2 is less than 10,000. Click Validity Check and it's a legal formula. Then we click OK. This formula restricts the number of E2 sale to be between 50 and 10,000. If it's not satisfying the rule, we can set up the prompt by using the quotation marks. And it says, sales volume exceed limit. Click OK and we are all set. Let's take a look at the preview. Now let's try entering some information. For the sales volume, try 25 first. There is no warning from immediate validation. Then we hit Submit. There will be a prompt says the sales volume exceeds limit. Then we try 20,000. It still shows a prompt. Then we try 100 and hit Submit. This time it's success. We will keep talking about Section 3 with restricted field value. There is another situation for submission validation, which is restrictions on field value. For example, we want to restrict the region to be some specific cities. We can use formula to verify the field name. We can place the cities that we allow to add into a server built-in dataset. We can create a new dataset by naming it area. We can design a table by add the column name city and insert rows for the cities that are allowed it to add. For example, Beijing, Tokyo, and New York. Then we add the conditions for data validation under data entry attributes. The formula should use in array A2 area.group city greater than 0. which checks if A2 in the city column in table area. We add a prompt says that no match cities if the rule is not met. Hit OK and then we can take a preview. Let's try to enter Shanghai and fill the other cells and hit Submit. It will show that no match city. If we change Shanghai to Beijing, we can submit successfully. The last situation in Section 3 is Crosssheet Validation. If our restrictions start at a different sheet, we can use formula to do a cross-sheet validation. Remember that in the sheet 2, we wrote the fixed cost of 500, and we want the subtotal to be greater than the fixed cost. We need to add a condition of data validation. Then we can write the formula like this. This means the cell E3, which is the subtotal of sales volume in sheet 1, is greater or equal to the cell B1, fixed cost, in sheet 2. We can use the quotation marks to quote the sheet name and use exclamation mark to connect the cell unit. This is a formula for our cross-sheet validation. If the rules are unsatisfied, we can enter a prompt saying that total sales should exceed cost. Let's take a preview, entering other information and try the sales volume at 100. Compare with 500. Hit Submit and it will have a warning. Then we try 1,999 and hit Submit. It shows success. That's all for this lesson. Thank you for watching.